Boom! And we are back, dudes, to this another episode of Happy No Fear. I'm your host, Chase. And this week we have a very special guest. I know I say that all the time, but he is an old friend of mine, fantastic MC, hailing from the West LA scene, and decided a while back, many years ago, to start traveling the world. And that is not an easy feat. You have to have it in you. There's a lot of ups and downs. Let's find out what that's all about with my friend, Malkovich.
We're live. Well, we're not live, but we're here. We're recording.
This was live at one point.
This was live at one point. Exactly, at this point. So yeah, what I love is that I haven't seen you and I haven't caught up with you. I just saw you. We didn't do a phone call. It was a DM. You're in town until, like, let's not say the date.
Yeah.
Because we don't know when this is going to go up. And bam, here we are, man.
Yeah, doesn't matter. 7 years, it couldn't matter less.
Unbelievable. Same vibe, same everything.
Everyone's still around, man. I mean, I haven't been in LA. I haven't lived in LA since 2011. Like, I come twice a year, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. But, you know, I was worried for a really long time that, like, my boys weren't going to advance in life. You know, there was a time there, you know, where I was like, yo, what are we actually going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I see it now. Like, there is growth, you know.
Right.
We're not goons to the grave, you know.
Right.
Like some people moved on, you know. Some people moved ahead,
and families and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit, we don't have none of that, but
I wonder why.
You
know?
I'm sure. Maybe I do. You know, there may be a...
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you do.
And that's maybe that's ambition. You know what I mean? Maybe
It
that's
is.
like I heard. Who did I hear talk about it? I think it wasn't Danny Brown or somebody. He was talking about, man, people that get married are the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet. You know, why would you commit 40, 50, 30, the rest of your life to one person, right? And, you know, that's sexually, mentally, story-wise, it's the same over and over again. I could do it, I think. I've done it for a couple of years before. But to really commit like that with a straight face and be like, yeah, no worries. I think that's probably a difficult thing.
I'd like to say that I can do it, but I'm 40 and I've never really done it. Like, I've had a couple of relationships, but they're always with one foot out the door. You know, I grew up traveling and I spent 20 years in America. You went through the same shit. Couldn't leave, trying to get a green card. Right. So, you know.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So now it turns out that, you know, I tried to be American. I tried to be normal. I tried to be the type of guy who's going to get married. But as it turns out, my 40 years on this planet has been basically 13 years of travel, 20 years of trying to be normal, and then I gave that shit up, and I'm back to original me, man. Like, I know how to do this. I know how to move. I know how to set shop in a new country. I can do it in a day flat, you know? Like,
that's, to me, is bananas. I respect that so much. And just for people that are listening, we go way back, first of all. Number two, we know each other through, like, the hip-hop scene in West LA. We're part of Gershwin, BLX, all that stuff.
This man Chase drew our first album cover.
yes.
Yeah, that's Abracadevji chiming in.
Yeah.
Chiming in right here, yeah. By the way, that album cover is, can I tell them what it is? Because it's very graphic.
You can. I know you're itching to say it, but to talk dirty.
It's a dude sitting on the toilet, jacking off to our music, but while he's getting caught by his mother. Now, that's pretty graphic. And then just keep this in mind. Somebody tattooed that on themselves.
Did you see that?
I did not see that, but you just told me that
Somebody
like 5 minutes ago.
Dude.
I got it on my Facebook somewhere.
Yeah, man.
I would like to
gotta
see
give
that
props to
photograph.
that dude. I think it's like...
And by the way, the dick is not a dick; it's a microphone.
microphone.
Because that was, you guys were like MCs, and that needed to be that inkling there on the cover. Yeah, that was crazy stuff.
Yeah, and plus we didn't want to do with an actual penis on the cover.
Yeah, also, it's still America after all, right?
I don't know if I needed that.
Yeah.
You know?
So it slipped through, and
someone tatted it.
I would love to see that. But yeah, so to move, what was I saying before you said that, Charles?
We go way back.
Oh yeah, way back. But I was thinking about just the leaving of You know, because you're living in a decent part of the world. You know.
I tried for 20 years, and you know, it was 2011, and I'd been living at that apartment in Palms for about 8 years, and in 2011 I broke up with my girlfriend, and she was just like, you know, you've never had your head in this relationship. You've always been like low key threatening to leave the country and just go.
Yeah.
And you didn't, and not even with a plan. And she was just like, "Well, I'm fucking tired of it. Fucking go."
Yeah. So you were always, because you never really mentioned about leaving again, and during that time when I knew you that much. But maybe that was something that was internally.
Something the
like
girlfriend hears, you know,
Yeah,
because and you know, to loop back to marriage, like she's just like, "You're in no state for anything. Like you forget about it, you know." So I was really sad. Like I was pretty depressed for like 6-7 months, and around that time, like a few people in the building started dying. Like this homeless guy lived in the parking lot, and he died, and then the old lady downstairs died, and my sisters used to live in the building. They moved out. Janet and Wendy, they moved out, and it was just like, okay, you know, this chapter of my life is definitely ending, and it's more than moving apartments, because I had it all. I had a great apartment. I had all my friends and my sisters in it. Like I was DJing down the street. I had a studio. Like you're not going to top that. Like maybe if you were making money, but that leads me to the other point. I wasn't making shit. And that is the first commandment of One Bag, is that you will make money. Like if you leave America, if you're not making money in America, and it's just not working, get the fuck out. Go. And save. First thing you'll save. Second thing is you're Western, so you have skills that they can't find out there. You're gonna find a job,
right?
And after 2 or 3, 4 years, guess what? You'll probably be able to move back to America and have some money.
Yeah, I've seen it happen. I've seen a lot of people move to Japan, to China, right? That were doing decent stuff, or you less than decent stuff, or all kinds of variety. But then when they show up in those parts, you know, they're kind of heralded as like from the West, from let's say a European country, or from LA, or from New York, or something, and they're sort of like, you stand out a lot because you're from somewhere else.
There's a little backlash now, you know, like all things. Like I remember, you know, in the 90s, the meal ticket was going to Belgium and Europe and doing shows, and it was like anyone could do it and like you know, pop off. And then similarly, there's a crush of Western people showing up to Southeast Asia, like and they get English teaching jobs. They tend to get English teaching jobs. And a lot of them don't even have degrees or qualifications. Right. But because they're white and they're native speakers, they're going to easily get a job like lickety-split, getting 4 to 5 times what the Vietnamese get. Vietnamese are, you know, it's very easy for them to be pissed off at you.
Right.
Now, if you do things the right way, then they'll like you. But generally, you know, like the backlash has started. Like you can't go to Europe anymore and just be a rapper. You ain't gonna get no shows.
Right.
And similarly, you can't just go to you can go to Vietnam and get a pretty good job, but people are gonna hate you unless you give them a reason not to.
Right. So just to catch everyone up, including myself. So the journey you're on now, it's like a project / lifestyle you call One Bag, right?
Yeah.
So explain that to people that are listening, and then I take it you ended up now in Vietnam after like traveling all over this motherfucker.
Yeah.
So to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I was broke in LA. My relationship ended, and I was just like, I was 32, I think, and I was just like, you know, these are the measures of a man: success and family. And I was not successful, and I couldn't keep a relationship. And I was just like, okay, well, fuck this shit. And I did what I know how to do. Like, I know how to travel. So
how did you know how to do that?
Well, because I'm half Iranian, half English. I was born in Italy. I was traveling my whole young life. I lived in Libya. I lived in Portugal. I lived in Iran. I lived in England.
So you're used to different scenes, different environments, acclimating, getting there, like feeling comfy.
Yeah.
And then keeping it moving.
I blend in. And, you know, it's a skill I learned. And it's part of the reason why relationships are hard, because I'm used to that motion.
Right.
So it makes it hard to sit down. Like I literally don't even like to sit down. Like I normally.
You can stand up if you want.
And this is cool, but normally I'm not. I'm very, like I do a lot of self introspection these days. Some people meditate. I just write. Like I write for hours and hours. I have a huge journal, and I've concluded that I'm a very insecure person, and there's always a negative connotation to that. But I don't think it's necessarily negative, I'm not religious. I don't believe in life after death. I don't believe in, at least not for me, being too stuck to one place. Like that's insecurity. It's, it's reality.
Yeah.
It's
without being secured to a dependable recurrence.
I mean,
right? In that notion, in that way.
Yeah, it's literally insecurity. I mean,
like a ball rolling is insecure because it's not fastened.
Exactly.
In that way, yeah.
I mean, there is some of the traditional definition in there. Like, my dad wasn't around very much. I was raised by women, and I think as a man, that is not a good thing.
Right.
And that caused a lot of insecurities for me in my life. And also another reason why it's hard for me to keep a relationship. But on the flip side, like I can do this because of that. I can do this.
Right. Yeah.
So I do it. Like
yeah.
I always say, people have to do what they can, and that means, if you can do it and no one else can do it, then do it. And I can do this. So I was like, all right.
So how about like when you first thought, look, okay, the apartment's kind of done, the community I had around that, the relationship, everything is done. I feel like, okay, this is probably a chapter. You're a writer, so you think in sort of bits and pieces, right? So this chapter is now over. What was the first place? Did you look at a map and say, fuck it, I'm going to go over here?
Yeah. Originally, it was not going to be just what it turned out to be. Originally, I wanted to move to New York because I think New York is the greatest city in the fucking world. And my friend had a room for me for $250.
That's crazy.
Exactly. So
you sure it was New York and not New Jersey?
No, dog. It was Bensonhurst, Brooklyn.
No shit. That's
shout out to Bad Touch. Bad Touch. Thank you, brother.
Don't turn the air conditioner on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I took a 4-day. Yeah. Well, hold on. I moved all my shit in the street. On
like your furniture, all
everything.
Okay. Yeah.
On New Year's Eve, I sold my car to my ex, and then on New Year's Day 2012, all that shit was gone. And I got on a train at Union Station, and I took a 4-day train to New York. And as soon as I got there, he told me I only had 4 months to be there. So I was just like, "Fuck, how do I?"
So now that it's like the clock is ticking.
Exactly. And I just wanted to stay in New York. I'm like, how do I survive in New York? So, I started coming up with different schemes to eat and eat good. And, because I make money not on music, I make money on marketing. That's my gig.
But a done deal PR, right?
Yeah, but don't mention that. I do music marketing on the side.
Okay.
So I started coming up with ideas on how to get a very high volume of clients, like basically music and big data. Every business you can think of right now, big data runs it. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a team of guys who don't know anything about your industry that are doing better at it than you are because they understand big data and they understand how to mine for the information that you need to sell. So I realized that very early, and I started looking for ways to outsource. And that means going to other countries. Now, at the same time, I'm having conversations with this producer named Becoming Phil. He lives in Namibia, which is a country in Africa. And he was like, I really like your shit. You should come to Africa and make an album with me. And it's funny because...
And when he said your shit, you mean your work as an MC?
Make an album with me.
Exactly.
Right. And it's funny because I'd always wanted to live in Africa. I lived in Libya for 2 years, but that's Arab. I don't consider it Africa,
Right.
Africa for me is the apex. Like, it was always the dream. It was a big, like, regardless of any of this would have happened or not happened, Africa was definitely number one on the bucket list. And it's just funny how I look back at it now. And, like, I didn't mean to do it. I wasn't like, okay, I got to cross this off the bucket list. But it fucking happened. Like, I went from New York to New Orleans to hang out with Voice and my godsons. Shout out to Voice.
Yeah.
She put me down. She put me up rather in in her house out in New Orleans. I got a lot of fam and friends in New Orleans. I got ties there now, very heavy. And then I went to Atlanta for a month or two. And then in November 2012, I took a plane from LA, switched planes in London, switched planes again in Johannesburg, and then landed in Windhoek, Namibia.
Namibia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And
one of the 55 African countries.
It is the second most sparsely populated country in the world.
No way.
It is the number one is Mongolia. Number two is Namibia. And
so we're talking like one person per like.
I mean, it's the Kalahari Desert. You can drive in a straight line.
I have to be honest. I don't know that much about Namibia.
Quick overview. Okay,
Yeah.
quick overview. It's shaped roughly like California. It is gigantic. It has that long west coast of the southern Atlantic portion of Africa.
Right.
So it's getting all that cold Atlantic wave.
Uh-huh.
And it used to be a German colony. It is one of the only German colonies. So it's a really random place. It's all Africans eating bratwurst and drinking really good beer. And yeah, it's really bizarre.
That's bananas, man.
And then it changed hands from the Germans to the Afrikaners. You know, when it became
the Dutch and all that shit.
It became subsumed into South Africa. It was known as Southwest Africa. And then when Mandela got freedom for everyone in 1990, Namibia was freed as well. So and it became its own country. Namibia named after the Namib Desert. So I land there, and this dude is just standing there, and
this is a dude you met like through emails,
Twitter.
DM, Twitter, even.
Yeah. And then I ended up going there,
and he probably sent it out thinking, like, this motherfucker never gonna reply to me. All of a sudden, you do show up. Mm-hmm. And you're like, you got me? Because I'm coming.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I got you.
Yeah.
And so you show up to Namibia.
And I lived with him for a year.
Some balls.
I lived with him for a year. I went back 3 times. I left and went back 3 times.
From the first time you got contacted by that dude, how long did it take you to decide that you were going to go there? It was like
a month.
Word.
Because you run that time clock of the 4 months in New York, so it's like that probably happened right around the month 2 or 3.
Yeah. We were discussing it. We started discussing it in New Orleans, and then by November I was there. And
so you show up, and what do you bring on the trip? Like, and did you know how long you were going to stay? Because now we're getting into the traveling aspect. How do you travel? Probably lightly.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I threw everything away. That's where the name One Bag comes from, because I literally had one bag on the planet. You know, I left like a yearbook at my mom's house and crap like that. But
how freeing is that? So you got a couple of hard drives, probably a laptop.
It's amazing. And now that I have an apartment, I don't like it. You know, and I'm lucky that in Vietnam the average apartment is furnished, so I don't have to buy a bunch of crazy crap. But it's still a little weird. But yeah, I mean, I just took some clothes and a laptop and a camera. I mean, I'm still a guy that rolls around with a camera. A lot of people think that's weird, but.
Like a proper DSLR or something?
No, I have a Ricoh GR2. It's like an ASPC sensor and a.
But it shoots good, yeah.
It shoots amazing.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is 2012. I didn't have one of those. I had some real junky shit. But I landed there and it set the gears in motion on 2 levels. See, the purpose of my traveling is always have multiple levels. The first thing that happened was that I realized that I could do this with other producers. So on Twitter, I put on my bio an offer. I said, all producers, send me your beats. If I like them, I'll come to your country and I'll make an album with you. Yeah. And I've done that so far in 3 countries.
That's
I've done
amazing.
Namibia, Italy, and Cambodia.
Wow.
So I have 3 unreleased albums, a bunch of footage and a bunch of videos, and they're all I'm about to kick Malkovich season up again.
Yeah.
My last release was 2014. Pre-boarding. Giles Peterson put it out for me. DJ Spinner mixed it. And no one gave a crap. And that really kind of bugged me. And I felt like, and I know that all artists and rap, especially rappers, can empathize with this. I was just like, fuck y'all. Y'all don't deserve more than this. Like, it was good stuff. And if this is not gelling, then I'm doing something fundamentally wrong. So I just spent the last few years amassing audio and video and getting the marketing arm really, really strong, which leads me to the second reason that I do all the traveling. And that is because I've been looking for a place to build an office for a record label,
right?
And outsource the work and hire talented people. So the other thing that I was doing in Namibia, apart from recording an album, was I went to the local college and I rented a room in a local college, and I hired 4 college students, and they were working for me for 4 or 5 months.
No
Like,
shit.
I landed there, and I started a label.
Yeah.
And we were just doing mostly intel preparation kind of stuff. I mean, we made a lot of mistakes, but
What's the name of the label? Or did you name it?
Genoa Imports,
Genoa.
because I was born in Genoa.
Yeah, Italy. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Are you Italian?
well, yeah. Funny story. I never thought I was actually Italian. The only reason
I see it now a little bit. Yeah.
The only reason I was born there was because I was born the week of the Iranian Revolution, and my mother was this pregnant. And
What was that, 67?
that was March 1979.
Oh, 79. Yeah, you're
March
not that old.
1979,
motherfucker.
exactly.
Yeah.
Fuck.
When am I talking
And
about? I knew that.
And she just took the first flight going, and it happened to be going to Genoa. That's the only reason I was born there. I always tell people that I have no Italian blood, but I did that 23andMe thing, and I actually have 20%.
I just talked about that today because my friend did it, and like she fully did it. But I'm like, man, I keep hearing that, because Facebook is one thing, the mining of demographics, all that sort of stuff, the check-ins, and now we're sort of like handing over all our DNA to the government. I mean, the return is nice.
Yeah, I mean, well, who gives a fuck, really? I mean, what are they going to do with your DNA?
I'm kind of weary about that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know, but no one ever really knows why they're weary about it. Like, what could they possibly do with your DNA information that would cause any harm to you?
You never know how, like these days it's like one little statement of fact, or half fact, can ruin a person. We've seen that now for a couple of years in all kinds of ways. An accusation is enough. So not to say that I'm up to no good, because I'm up to good things, but still just the notion of it is like, I don't know, it's
Well,
a little tricky for me.
one thing I always think about when I think about you is the night that you tried to convince me that the trade centers never fell down, the trade towers never fell down.
I was heavy into that. No. Hey, my man, this is funny you say that. That I actually
Funny
never
you say that.
No, I'll tell you why I never said that. Because you, motherfucker, woke me up.
Now we're talking.
You woke me up 10:30 a.m. on September 11, 2001.
I called everyone.
No. You were at my door. We watched the second tower on my couch go down live on TV.
right.
Remember
James
that?
woke
I was
me up
sleeping.
as well, man. You woke me up early. You woke me at like 5.
I mean,
6
if
in
that
the
ain't
morning,
reason
man.
for
Chuck,
a morning call, I don't know what the
He
fuck
was
it is.
at my door banging. I'm like, who the fuck is this? I open up James. It's like, yo, we got to turn on the TV right now. The first tower had already fallen. We turned on the TV. Literally, like a minute later, we saw it together.
we watched
that was
shit
nuts.
go down in real time.
So don't tell me about telling you that it didn't go down. It did go down.
Yo, it was a bar in Silver Lake, and you stood outside that shit, and you were like, "But did they really come down?" Like,
No. You got me confused with somebody else.
No. Come on.
No.
I know you, bro.
No. I know they came down, but back then I was heavy. Like in that period, I went to go hear the engineers for that built the World Trade Center. They were on a tour, going to churches and stuff. I was there. Ex-CIA operatives. I went to go hear them speak because Bush was about to invade on a false premise, right? So I knew a lot about that stuff. Did they come down? Of course they did, but that's a conversation for another day.
Well, no, but
There's
it's
a lot
very
of
relevant.
suspicious things
It's very relevant to this.
around that event, for
It's
sure.
very relevant to this.
Unanswered questions.
Because, see, my parents traveled the world in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it together. Now I find myself doing it alone in the 2000s. In the 20. What the fuck?
What am I looking at here? Look at this magician over here. So Abracadef is balancing.
The old balancing the can trick.
I think he's an amateur magician because I'm seeing some. Do you see this one? You got to take a photo of that, huh? What the fuck is going on here? He's balancing beer cans in midair on their edge, on their bottom edge, and it's a
Oh
little.
yeah, that's another joke.
Yeah.
Beer can in an English accent sounds exactly like bacon
Bacon.
in a Jamaican accent.
Yeah.
Beer can.
And Michael Caine in English is where's my cocaine?
My dad looks just like Michael Caine, by the way.
Yeah.
It's fucking uncanny.
Looks like a bag of white powder.
But now he grew his beard out. He looks like Donald Sutherland. But
Yeah.
anyway, now that I'm traveling the world alone in the mid 2010s,
Yeah.
and I knew when the towers came down that it was going to change everyone's life forever,
Yeah.
but mine extremely so. And when I compare stories with my parents about travel, they're like, they feel sorry for me. They're like, you can't go where we went. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Like it's cheaper to travel,
Right.
but you just like the Middle East is such a beautiful place, and it's so hard to go. Like they've totally like the hippies used to do the I forget what they used to call it, like the Silk Road. They used to do the Silk Road from Europe in a big ass fucking bus
Into India, yeah.
and go from Eastern Europe
to the Middle East
straight.
Yeah.
And they used to have the time of their fucking lives, and that's off the table now completely. And another thing is just, airport security.
Oh,
and just
man.
a lot of growing fear of paranoia. Like it's not.
All the security stuff, shoes off. In this country, you keep shoes on. In the other country,
And just, governments are really weary on another level right now. Like, I'm going to tell you what happened to me in Namibia and why that ended. Because...
Yeah, let's go back to that.
No, but it ties in.
Okay.
It all ties in.
Seinfeld.
It all ties in. I went back and forth for a year and a half because my dad had moved to Malaysia. So I started doing this weird... I started having this weird Namibia, Malaysia life where like I would every few months when my
Turn it off, bro.
every few months when my visa expired, I would fly to Malaysia and hang out with my dad. And then I would go back to Namibia and start the process anew. But see, there's a reason why most seasoned travelers end up in Southeast Asia, and it's because it's cheap, it's safe, and they don't care how long you stay. You can renew your visa till the fucking cows come home,
Right.
My dad has lived there for 10 years on a tourist visa. Every 90 days, he just walks
Renew.
across the border.
Oh, yeah.
And turns around
Yeah.
and comes back in.
Yeah.
But you cannot do that in Africa. In Africa, they have some weird colonial grudge that Southeast Asia does not have. You only get 3 months every calendar year. You can renew it once in Namibia and say that I fell in love with the rhinos and the elephants and I want to stay some more, but that's it. You don't get no more. So I was trying to get a work visa because I was running a business there. That didn't work. Nothing worked.
No shit.
So at a certain point, I was there for 2 weeks illegally because I fucking love the place. Like I never made so many new friends in my life. I fell in love with the place. I wanted to stay. I wanted it to be my new home. And then, people relax in the weirdest moments, like I knew I was illegal, but after so long illegal, you forget about it. You start thinking that you're normal again. And this girl that I know was running a fashion line and she asked me if I would model for her fashion line. So I'm like, okay. And I'm in her clothes and I'm taking pictures. She's taking my picture rather. Then a cop comes out of nowhere and he's like, yo, that there's government buildings in the background of your picture. And this is what I'm talking about. This level of paranoia to where a government building 2,000 feet in the background is considered a security risk.
So if you're doing something that's suspicious or maybe a ploy to get close to that building under the guise of a photo shoot or something,
And
so you got sweated over that.
Sweated. They put me in prison. I was
What?
in prison for 3 days.
Get the fuck out of here, man.
And then I got deported.
What?
Yeah.
That's bananas, man. They put you in prison for 3 days for taking a couple of photos in front of a...
Well, yeah,
Wow.
but because then it was revealed that I had an expired visa. I didn't go to...
Right.
I didn't, the inquiry led to that.
Right. Okay.
So I was in jail for 3 days. They threw me in front of a judge, and the
Like
judge,
a holding cell? Or yeah.
No, I was
General Pop.
I was in General Pop.
Wow.
in
Namibia, man.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean,
I was the only guy with shoes.
was there cement on the floor even?
It was cement
Yeah?
floor.
Rats and roaches and crazy shit?
I didn't see any rats. I saw a lot of roaches.
Do you have your own cell? Or like...
No.
Just like a...
I had a cell like half the size of this room with about 30 guys in it.
Wow.
And we just slept on the floor, sardine style.
Scary
and
shit.
It was like a makeshift.
No bunks, nothing.
Please.
Jesus Christ.
And it was like a makeshift ceiling, but it was all made of bars because, we're the newbies in this cell. GP is where the old timers are at. And a lot of them are so skinny that they can literally fall through the ceiling and land right in front of you and start interrogating you for money or whatever the fuck you might have. But They were
I mean,
cool.
so wait, were you the only white
I
Westerner
was
in
the
there?
only
Of
white
course.
guy in there. So, but
What was that like? Just not to sidetrack too much, but that's like a what's it called? Midnight Express experience.
Well, it was actually all right because they were more just curious. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And luckily, I was only there for 3 days.
Yeah.
If I'd been there longer, like there were guys that were angling and trying to get an angle, and I managed to hold them off.
Yeah, because you're used to that by now. In general.
I was scared.
But still,
I was
you're in
scared,
fucking
Namibia,
man.
when shit hits the fan, you'll be cool because you have to be cool.
Got to be cool.
I'm like, if I panic now, that's it. I'm done.
That's it. Yeah.
Toast.
Yeah,
So I just kept it chill, man, and I just let them think that I was going to be there for a very long time because if they think you're leaving tomorrow, then they're really going to step up efforts to get you tonight.
Yeah. Smart.
The only other non-Africans in there were these 3 Chinese guys that were in for poaching ivory.
That's some real bastards.
And they were in the yard with their little tea machine. Like, it was some real fucking crazy shit. Man.
Yeah.
And
by the way, we're only at leg 1 of
Yeah.
one bag shit, and I feel the memoirs coming on already. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It goes on and on and on. I was in there for 3 days. I was lucky I got out when I got out. I would have had something very bad would have happened to me. I know it for a fact. They already had started loading up their agenda.
Yeah.
There are a few guys that were already milling around. Like the common trick in the jail there is, hey, I'm sure that you need to contact one of your friends. Why don't you use my phone? Because a lot of guys have phones in there. And what they do is they go back and they look at the number you called, and then they text them and say, we have your friend
Exactly.
ransom, and
Kidnap.
you got to send us money.
Because there is that element that likes to kidnap in those parts of the world, and it's held for ransom. Right now you wire whatever, and it's going to be a number, and that number,
So I'm deleting the SMSs from the sent box.
Yeah.
And I'm putting JD at the end so that they know that if they don't see my initials, they know it's not from me.
Yeah.
But the problem is I give the phone back to the guy, and then
He goes to-
then my friend texts back. So it's
So
a
because
tough one.
you were in need of assistance because you didn't know how long you were going to be held.
I was telling my buddy to get me a lawyer.
Right.
So he got me a lawyer, and then they threw me in front of the judge. The judge says, okay, no harm, no foul. You got a week to leave the country on your own. And I walked out like, woohoo!
Wow.
And I walked right into the immigration officer that arrested me. And he was like, oh, no, I don't care what the judge said. You don't go anywhere unless I sign off on it. And they threw me right back in.
In jail again?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I was like, can you at least let me take a shit because
There's toilet paper here.
No, because I didn't take a shit for 3 days.
Yeah.
Because that's where they get you.
Out in the shitter, huh?
That's where they get you.
Because then, you're confined, you're solo, boom.
Done. You're done.
Wow, so you need to
So
take
I was
a
like,
massive dump.
okay. I was like, okay, if I'm not going back, if I'm not if I have to go back to jail, can you please let me take a shit?
Yeah,
and he was
yeah,
like, all right. And that was it. And then he threw me back in.
And how long this time? I don't want to hear no crazy
Another
shit.
day and a half.
Jesus, man. And then your friend again, the lawyer again, and what an asshole
got
that
me a
fucking
lawyer,
guy that
got
could
me
have
out,
just
man.
signed off.
They put me in a paddy wagon and they drove me to the airport and they fucking put me on the plane in cuffs like fucking Dr. Lecter. They sat me next to some like German chick and she was like,
Who's
what
this
the
guy?
fuck? And then that was it. I got deported.
Were you wearing civilian clothes?
Yeah, but filthy,
Yeah, at that
stank
point.
to high heaven.
Yeah.
And
no shower,
and
nothing.
it was Namibian. It was like July, which is Namibian winter because they're southern hemisphere. So it was freezing in the cells. I had a jacket. I gave it to this one kid named Sylvester who was looking out for me. I hope he's all right.
Yeah.
And I got sent back to England because I have an English passport and a US
So
passport
England,
now.
yeah.
Because I have 2 passports.
So all of a sudden now you're in Europe by what is it? The falling of the cards or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the hand of fate.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, England was probably not on your itinerary.
It was not on my itinerary. But,
So you're there now.
but I lost my U.S. passport to a shady-ass lawyer that was holding it for me to supposedly get it stamped and fix my visa problem. But, when I got kicked out, I didn't have it. So, boom.
And this is
that.
prior to the jailing.
Right. So
Oh,
I had to go
man.
to England and get a temporary U.S. passport.
Right.
And
So now you're in
know,
England.
I'm in England, and I'm like, I had invested a lot in Namibia. Like, I wanted to stay, and it was sad for me because I loved it on so many levels, and it was the end of a dream.
And you were actually doing like a thing that's good for all parties involved. This is a positive thing through music. And then one slip up 2 weeks. Okay, I didn't get the stamp, but can you look at my situation here? I'm actually not a profiteer or, you know.
They don't care. And literally, like 3 or 4 officials on the stage of this journey said to me, what would happen if we try to stay in your country over the visa? And so it was obviously, it's a bit of payback involved, you know?
Right.
They're smacking me down hard to make a point.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is
for a perceived point, at least, because they never went through that.
And the funny thing is I have friends from Namibia who now come to America, and America gives them 10-year multiple entry visas like fucking candy, you know? Because Namibia is not a particularly poor country. I mean, it is, but, you know, it's not very hard to demonstrate that you have money. There are some people there with some serious money, and they just they get it way easier, you know? So now I'm in England, and I'm regrouping. So this begins... You know, the first phase of One Bag was Africa. The second phase was Asia. I went back to Malaysia and I started building there. I opened an office there, and I lived with my father, and that was great because, like I told you, my father wasn't around when I was young, and I now I have a father, and now I have a friend. Like, he's like my best friend. It's beautiful. Yeah. You know? So it was really necessary and really important, and you know, ultimately Asia is the place to be, at least for now, because you know, Asia and Africa are polar opposites. In Africa, you're gonna have the time of your life. You will come home at breakfast every morning after a night out. You will make tons and tons of friends, but business is gonna be very difficult. Yeah. And visas.
And that's due to what? Is it due to the lack of that business sort of making things like by the book, corporate, you know, filing this and that?
It's just.
Or is it like, because people don't really respect it yet as a system that can really work, or something? I'm just grasping in the dark.
Well, first reason it's going to be difficult is because you can't get a visa to stay.
Yeah.
And then if you're lucky enough to get a visa to stay, then you have to try to get a business visa.
Right.
You know, set up an official business.
Trader investor visa or something.
It's fucking hard. Yeah. Like they're used to diamond miners. They're used to they're used to fucking those guys.
Right.
I'm just one dude with a backpack. They're like, get the fuck out of here. You know?
Yeah.
Contrast that with Vietnam, which is the fastest growing economy in the world right now. Yeah. And we didn't have to show them anything.
Yeah.
We literally just it was done.
Yeah.
Visa, no problem. Open a business, no problem.
And do you think that is because of, you know, way back when it was like a French colony, so they've inherited some of that?
No, I mean
stuff, or they just figured it out.
Namibia was a German colony, you know.
Whatever, yeah. I really don't know. That's why I'm asking you, honestly.
No. I'm telling you that it's not because of a colonial thing. It's just because.
Chuck, give us another one, will you?
Yeah, that's a good idea. No, Africa is just very disjointed. You know, there's a pretty decent level of cooperation between the Southeast Asian countries,
right?
But there is no cooperation in Africa. Every country in Africa is essentially on its own,
right?
And it has a whole different set of rules and laws. And air travel is very expensive. Yeah. Like in Asia, you do $50. Thailand and Vietnam, you know. Yeah. English is pretty widely spoken. No, actually, that's a total lie. Africa is very widely spoken, and that's why it's a big missed opportunity, because Africa has hundreds of millions of young people, all hip hop fans, all hip hop fluent, all English speaking. Like, the person who unlocks the African market is going to transform hip hop. And that's my goal. That's what I am trying to do with my marketing arm, because lyrical hip hop needs new breath and new blood, and it's out there. I've seen it.
Yeah.
They listen to lyrics like we used to listen to lyrics.
Yeah.
But they listen to it in 2019. Yeah. They sit around dissecting every line. Did you hear that? What do you think it meant? Like, they go in.
Yeah.
And we need that, because we're so jaded over here. We're so done with it, you know?
Right. So it's like, I'm still getting used to hip hop being pop now. You know, it's like the popular music. Yeah. When we first, got involved, it was just like you had to dig for it.
It was a subculture.
You know, you defended it also. You know, if you had a friend that wasn't as versed as maybe we were, and they throw in a good track, that's cool. But then the next track wasn't going to be dope, and then we'd grill them for it. For like the next half hour.
No, I mean, but there's there's such, like, the biggest surplus in the world right now is music. Like, there is so much music coming out every single day. There is a lot of good shit coming out. but it's just like anything. When there's too much, you value it less. So we just don't value music on the same level anymore because there's so much of it.
Right.
So,
and also I think hip hop is beautiful because the phrase "out of limitation comes inspiration." I think with at least the first wave and then the golden era hip hop, they run parallel. Out of limitation comes inspiration. I mean, you can do whatever you want with, you know, you got the fan bases, the studios, you know, the recording devices, anything you want. It's gonna be harder to find that flame, that fucking real passion sometimes.
but
you know?
but it's out there.
But it's out there for sure.
It's out there. It's not our sound. You know, I'm not gonna speak for you, but
Yeah, I
don't
fuck with it
really-
a little bit, but I'm not like
I don't understand.
going heavy. You know?
I don't understand or enjoy most modern
Yeah.
hip hop these days, but you know that's par for the course. I'm 40 years old,
Right.
But I see what's being done. There's a lot of innovation on the music.
There's a lot of dope
and,
shit.
and a
There's a lot of
business
dope shit.
level,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
And I'm glad hip hop evolved. That's why we're still alive. Like we are number one. Do you remember that EDM was kind of like, what was it? Maybe 5 years ago, EDM thought it was hot shit. There was like 2 years, and they were just like, "We won, we're number one," and then like I was actually like, "Fuck, maybe it's over." But yo, hip hop is completely smashing every genre of music right now, financially.
Because you know what it is. It's like when you sit down and you hear an interview or you see an interview with the person that's doing the lyrics, you can't. In a lot of cases, you can't get away from the realness.
Yeah.
Sit down with an EDM motherfucker. It's fun.
They're just
it's
goobers.
cool.
They're goobers.
You know, and it's totally fine. But it's just there's still reporting going on, you know, and that's what hip hop to me always was. Is we're getting a reportage, beautiful word, into a world that maybe you kind of crossed into a little bit. You have friends there, you know, but it's not really your world, you know. And if it was your world, then that's also fucking fine. And then you could relate on the deepest levels. And I think that's why what you're saying to me now rings a bell, because Africa must be in that sort of infancy stage where they're kind of like the silent, not in a way, the silent majority. Africa's a huge country, 55 countries on the continent of Africa. And I know one guy, Atakak. You know this guy?
No.
It's hilarious, beautiful stuff. Atakak.
Where's he from?
I think he's from Ghana, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And like he makes stuff in a shack. And shouts to Malarko from London, who put me up on him like 4 or 5 years ago. Just like it's homemade, and he's got his mom singing on the thing and everything, but it's fucking on point. And it's not perfect. You know, it's like it's a little bit like there's humoristic aspects to it, but overall the energy is like, okay, you cannot not fuck with this. You know? So I can imagine that what you're onto right now is like it's a true thing.
I mean, as an underground MC, you know, I was here for 10 years trying to do it. We did BLX. We had a crew. We had a buzz. Jail, drugs, implosion. You know, the usual stories. You know, West Coast groups, LA groups. I don't know what it is. Far Side, Freestyle Fellowship. You know. It's just personalities clash. I don't know what happens. Maybe it's Hollywood. Maybe someone goes Hollywood and it all just kind of falls apart. But I just saw it happen time after time. And then I saw all my guys trying to trudge on solo. I did the same thing. Everyone, but you know, we are crew MCs. You know, we come from the tradition of rapping together. So when you separate us, it's cool, but it's, you know, it loses.
There's no Voltron
It loses
effect.
the original energy that brought us into this shit. Like I didn't sign up for this shit to rap alone.
Right.
You know, now I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm literally in the jungle alone, tracking myself alone. Like I make hip hop alone now, and it's fun, but
crazy.
it's not what I signed up for. You know what I mean? Like we come from the crew aesthetic, you know.
Right.
So I'm just trying to find out how we can bounce back in style, because there's a market for it. I seen it. You know, it's just that there's been no one organization to unite underground hip hop on a data level since Rock the Bells. Rock the Bells was the last organization to put everyone on one email list, one channel. You know, like
even
this
got the
is
Far Side to be
underground
back
hip-hop.
together again.
Like, if you want to be clued in, this is it. You know, so I'm trying to build that.
Yeah, but Europe is still fucking a lot. Like I heard Jeru. I met who did I meet? Forget his name right now. From Houdini. He rolled up on me while I was painting. He's like, "Man, this reminds me of back in the day." And this guy's talking with so much finesse. He had the Kazals on. He was looking like, "Man, this guy's too fresh." This is not even West Coast fresh. This is like some Brooklyn fresh.
Yeah, that's that old school hip hop.
And so
no one ever fresh like them, man.
And he's over here doing his thing, and we stayed in touch. And I painted a wall in Venice based on a Jeru lyric. You know, the "Only We Can Save Us" thing?
Yeah.
Right? That's from Ain't the Devil Happy. And so I broke that down to him. He's like, well, let's send this to Jeru right now. So Jeru lives in Berlin. That's how I came to find out.
I'm going to Berlin next week.
Yeah, you should try to link up. Yeah. But you know what I mean? So over there, you know, and you brought something up earlier, and it's true. And I saw it in Japan also. When I went to Tokyo, I saw people dressed like greasers, you know what I mean? Vintage chicks, and they all have their stores, their denim, and what they take from the subcultures from the West, right? They then take it, but they fall extra in love with it. It's not a periphery thing. It's not a lifestyle thing, but it becomes that, and they love every stitch and every detail about it. And I think the U.S., for the most part, it's just like part of who we are here. But we don't have to fight for that, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so, but in the fighting, it becomes truly your cause. And I think especially with regards to like that era of hip hop, like Europe is very strong. There's a big circuit.
It's like all big movements. I mean, you can take religion, for example. You know, in Europe, they're over religion completely. Like Christianity, you know, the average Western white person in Europe is completely over it. But if you go to places where it's newer, like South America, they're very devout Catholic.
Yes.
You know, Malaysia is hardcore Muslim. Like when you go to Iran, if you go to the average Iranian person's house in Iran, they're all Muslim, but they're drinking, boy.
Yeah.
in Malaysia, no, I know that not only are they Muslim, but when I go to their house, there will be no drinking. Like the newer converts, they take it a lot more seriously.
Right.
And that goes for
exactly.
music
That's
as
a
well.
great point. That's a nice parallel there.
Yeah.
I wonder how long it's going to take the whole world to start drinking again.
That's a great point.
But speaking of Malaysia, that was the next phase of One Bag. I lived in Penang in northern Malaysia. Most people live in Kuala Lumpur, that's the capital, but I lived in Penang. And I hired a few people. I continued my efforts. I was doing some recording. And I got to know Southeast Asia. And I tried to get a work permit there to open the office officially, but they need you to invest a hell of a lot of money in order for that to work. That's another oil state. Malaysia's very rich, and you know, as such, they're not really interested in a guy like me with his pissant money. So I tried that for 2 years, didn't work out. So I'm saying to myself, okay, I tried to do Namibia, which is a pretty random place no one has ever heard of. I tried to open a business there, and I did it for love. I did it because I loved the place. And then I tried Malaysia, and I did that because I love my dad. So now I got to take love out of this. I got to go where it's going to work.
Yeah.
So I spent a year going to the obvious spots. I went to Greece for a couple months because they just had the economic crash full of overeducated, underpaid, very smart people.
Yeah.
But then I rapidly figured out that there's a reason they're broke. And the reason they're broke is because you have to pay like 40% social insurance for these guys, you know?
Right.
Their pension
Belgium is the same,
humongous.
Yeah.
So
there's a socialist aspect that as an employer, you got to really take care of the people you hire.
it's fucked up.
And I, even in part-time like situations, I think you still got to contribute heavy.
So that was over. So I flew from India. No, I flew from Greece to Norway for a week. Saw a friend in Norway, and then I went to Mumbai. I flew from Oslo to Mumbai. Which, if you wanna line up the two most disparate cities that you can think of for culture shock, it's Oslo and Mumbai.
Yeah.
Like the train to pick me up, they in Oslo to go to the airport, they measure its arrival in milliseconds. It says this train will arrive at 4:32, and maybe, like, I swear to God, like I saw it, and it lands on the dot, and
Yeah.
you can't even hear the engine as you're on this thing. It's just
And then when you get there and someone points it out, as expected.
yes, and then
As expected.
I'm landing in Mumbai, and yeah, it's right. I said landing on Mumbai. It is. You don't land in Mumbai. You land on Mumbai.
Yeah.
Like you land on cows that like have a kid under them that
Yeah.
people forgot about,
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
kid
yeah.
is still alive, and then
Yeah,
the kid crawls out like and runs off somewhere. Like I had an Airbnb for 1 month, and I would walk out
In
of
Mumbai?
there, yeah, and
Yeah.
I would walk out of there over bodies. I mean, they were alive, they were sleeping, hungry, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people are gonna say, "Oh, that you're dramatizing things." I lived in Mumbai.
No, but it's one of the most population dense places in the world. I think.
In the average street of Mumbai,
Yeah.
there are gonna be people laying around, and
Yeah.
they're gonna be fucking hungry, and
yeah.
and you just, it's just life, you know.
Yeah.
And I was there for 1 month, and I took a lot of interviews. I did a lot of intel, see if it was going to work out. Because, you know, you hear about India. You hear about the marketers. You hear they're good. But they weren't really, I wasn't very impressed. Like,
Isn't it a lot of outsourced American?
yes, and they're very by the book. They're
Right.
very, you know, I don't,
It's like that British is in them.
Yeah.
Right. But you know, like everything cross your
exactly.
yeah,
They're very,
exactly.
it's very civil servant kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's no entrepreneurial, there's no entrepreneurial
Right,
spirit
which is that
there,
American
you know,
thing,
they're just
yeah.
like, I do this,
Right.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was asking, okay, you know, what's your marketing approach? You're like, well, you know, I post a picture at 10, I post a poll at 2,
Yeah.
I fucking ask you to fucking sign it. And just, India is a lot, you know? If you want to live in India, like, I love a lot. I'm all about a lot. Like, Vietnam is a lot too. Vietnam is completely bonkers.
Yeah.
But India has, in my experience, it has some more nasty edges. It has some more unsavory edges,
Yeah.
you know, like the whole thing about Indian men and the, you know, romantic sexual politics. Like, in my experience, it's real. Like, I saw
What do you
it.
mean?
Well, you know, you hear a lot about rapey India.
Oh yeah.
And I was going there like, please.
Yeah,
prove-
but that whole caste system is very much alive there.
it's, I mean, it is real. You know,
Yeah.
know, it's there. It is what it is. You know what I mean? And I was
Yeah,
on the-
women is sort of like second-class citizens and property, and you know you should be so lucky you got married.
I was going
Right?
there like
Type of thing.
I was going there like, please prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. I went on 2 dates, and I went on 2 dates with 2 women. On both dates, a man came out of nowhere screaming, like, "Why are you with this man? What the fuck?" And drag him off. And I'm just sitting there.
Related to that woman?
One was,
Yeah.
and one was not.
Wow.
One knew her,
Uh,
and the other one didn't know her from Jack.
no shit. And she's being dragged out from the date.
One got dragged. The other one just got interrogated until she was just like, I gotta fucking go home.
Because you're
Foreign.
foreign. Yeah, it's all about the foreign. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So I just, you know,
So like this was sort
India,
of like
India wasn't
sort
India
of
wa-
like you don't get to do this. You don't get to escape our system type of thing. You don't.
India wasn't on my side.
Yeah.
So I go back to Malaysia.
Yeah. So this is after a month there.
Yeah, I go back to Malaysia.
No pussy in India.
No pussy in India.
No pussy in India.
Nah.
Well.
I mean, there's some beautiful girls, man, but no, it's no. I mean, and I spent New Year's Eve in Goa.
Yeah.
And Goa, I met my sisters there. And Goa on New Year's Eve,
They're also the traveling types, huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
I know that. Yeah.
they met me in India, and Goa on New Year's Eve is literally 500,000 Indian men and nobody else.
That's a bummer party.
And they are psycho drunk. Like,
Yeah.
I've
Oof.
never seen anything like it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they go on the beach and they, you know, start little bonfires and they dance and they are so drunk. Like, I saw a guy jump and barf and like and like the barf landed on him and then he landed on someone else. You know, like it you know, it's a bit scary. India's
Yeah.
a bit scary, and the pollution is. I mean, you just have to see it to believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone always says, "Yo, you gotta go find yourself in India." I never had that calling. I'll be fine not to go to India, but I do like the colors and the things and the this and
No,
the that.
don't get me wrong.
You know,
I
I'm
recommend
just speaking-
I recommend
yeah.
everyone goes to India.
Right.
It has It has more culture than, bar none, more culture than anywhere you'll go.
Right.
Completely, totally. And it's just so much history, culture. But you also need to go to see what the world could look like in 50 years. Or not even 50. Yeah. You could say 20.
Right.
You know, the end of the world is happening now.
Yeah.
And it's happening in India. And I've seen it. Like, you know, we took a plane to Delhi, but it was delayed for 5 hours because apparently the pilots can't see the tarmac anymore. So they have to wait.
Why, because it's full of people?
No, it's full of smoke.
Full of
smog.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So they have to wait till that clears up.
Yeah.
There's a limit. Even with navigation systems and all that, there's a limit to where you can land this fucking plane.
Yeah.
So we were there for 5 hours, and that's pretty commonplace. And once we got into the airport in Mumbai, in Delhi, the smog is in the building. Like, it's
Jesus
brown
Christ, man.
in the building. So, I mean, I would learn more about that in Vietnam. Like, where I live in Vietnam now.
Where do you live now in Vietnam?
I live in Hanoi.
Hanoi.
And
that Hanoi.
The smog is top 10. Like, there's been a few times where I walked for 20 minutes because I love to walk, and I have a sore throat for 1 week.
Shit.
And it gets worse the more I breathe in.
Yeah.
Like, if I exhale my lungs all the way, it'll continue to hurt more and more.
Is it from
more.
what they put in the river? Is it industry? What is it? It's everything.
It's 20
no
million.
smog checks on nothing?
It's 20 million motorbikes minimum.
That's a lot.
It's
20 million motorbikes.
It's the Samsung factory and the Nike factory and the Tommy Hilfiger factory, and they're all there. It's toxic garbage air coming from China's factories, which is 200 miles away from.
But the winds probably blow it that way.
Yes.
Right.
And it's the war. God knows what's in the ground.
Yeah.
You know, eat with the food we eat. There's rules. The Vietnamese will tell you the rules of buying food in Vietnam. Don't buy it from those pretty old grandmas with the coned hats who are selling that really good looking vegetables and meat that's too cheap to be true, because it's not. It comes over the border from China and it's injected full of things that you don't want in.
Yeah.
You go to the supermarket, like it's
like Monsanto's, like that'd be a welcome dish of vegetables if you got Monsanto vegetables.
Yeah.
That'd be way better than that.
God, give me some Monsanto.
Yeah.
You either go to the supermarket and you buy that, even though like right outside your house is this old lady, and it looks so quaint. It's beautiful. Like, I would love to buy from you, but I walk right past her and I go to the supermarket. Or if you're lucky enough to have a friend, and I do, my landlady, she grows her shit at the family farm.
Right. Yeah.
So I take what
that's the ticket. Yeah.
I take what she gives me.
Yeah.
But pollution in Asia is real.
Yeah.
And
so wait, how did you come to like? Now we went from Mumbai to Delhi,
now
back and forth to Malaysia, and now we're getting to the discovery of Vietnam, which is a whole other country.
Yeah.
And they're all distinctly different, obviously, different cultures, different backgrounds, different everything.
Yeah.
So how did you land on that? Let me go check out Vietnam.
Well, I should back up for a second and tell you that these are the big chapters, but within them are small chapters.
Right.
And that's
there's been a lot of traveling and discovery.
And that's where a lot of the music got done. Like, for instance, there's an Italian producer who lives in Milan called Funk Prez. And he invited me to Milan. And we made an EP where he raps in Italian and makes the beats, and I rap in English. So we have 5 songs of that. Then
at every stint like this, let's say when you go to Milan, you stay there, what, a month, 2 months, 3 months? What can we picture? Or you prep and then you lay it down, you're there for a couple of weeks?
It's normally 2-week stints. I write a good portion of it before I get there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finish up on the spot. I got 5 songs with him. And then the third One Bag Project album was recorded in Cambodia. I have a friend named Mute Speaker who's an Irish guy. And he moved out there, got married, and he invited me to come hang out. And he produced the majority of that album. Another guy that contributed a few tracks to that is a guy named DJ Squigs, and he lives in southern Thailand, and he's from Britain. So the Cambodia album is called Farang, which is what they call white people out there. Farang is foreign.
Oh yeah.
So it's an album all about what it's like to literally be a white guy in the middle of Southeast
expat
Asia.
life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like a specific strain of expat life where you don't have a whole lot of money, and you know you came out there alone, just a swinging dick,
right, and art in your heart,
and you know the culture shock and survival, and you know trying to make sense of your decision, and all of that stuff.
Right.
You know, it's a niche album, but the people that will understand it, it's gonna throw them for a fucking loop because it's our life. Me, Mute Speaker, Squigs, my father. I've met tons of these guys. They're floating around Southeast Asia.
It's bananas.
They're all involved in some shady shit.
Yeah.
And they all maybe married some local woman, and you know, they thought they found the hack. You know, in one of my rhymes, it goes, "Oh, you just something to the effect of, you know, modern American life is relatively dreary and expensive, and you know, you're supposed to get married and do all this bull crap." And you thought you found the answer. You thought you found the way out. You thought, oh, great, Southeast Asia, yo. It doesn't matter how old you are. The girls love you. It's cheap as dirt. And no one's on your ass. So everyone goes there and it's like, well, it is cool. But, you know, it's not all it's cracked up to be at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I think when that works, right? But I think you have women's best, you have their most attention when they think you're going back to where you came from. Because then they can kind of like piggyback, you know, like join you and go to that Western world. That's the big promise, right?
I mean, it depends.
In a lot of cases, to be honest. No?
I mean, you know, for most of them, it's quite sufficient if you just if you're just going to stay and take care of them and live there, you know,
right? Yeah.
Because you'll still.
But the take care of them factor is a big one.
Sure, I mean,
right.
but you know, and that's not specific.
You know,
that's not specific to Southeast Asia. That's just specific of more traditional society.
Right, exactly.
You know,
right.
Like,
It's just
you could go all around the world and see that.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. So, and maybe like I just had a notion of like, you know, when you make these moves and you decide that like, look, this, you know, supposed American life, which was sort of like presented to me, we all know what it is. Once you sort of had your time with it and you're like, you know what, let me try something else. Let me break, you know, through this whatever biosphere and the societal thinking that's so obviously going around here. And you made those moves. But then you know, there's got to be a moment where you land somewhere and you're like, actually, what the fuck am I doing here? I miss a goddamn 7-Eleven. Where's my homies?
No. That's one thing I never had a problem.
You never have that?
No, never.
See,
I mean,
that's specific, I think, to being a traveler.
I'm starting to miss.
Right?
I'm starting to miss friends and family only now. Only 7.5 years
no
after
shit.
That. But for
that's remarkable.
For the first few years, I didn't give a shit.
Wow.
I did not care at all. And
because you could talk, you could Skype, WhatsApp.
No,
like,
no one ever. No one ever heard from me. I mean, I barely kept in touch with anyone. I mean, Charles, how often do you hear from me?
Once in a while.
Exactly. How often do you hear from me?
Never.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, and
I mean, I'll get like a DM like every couple of years.
That's
or something.
not unusual.
Yeah.
Like, I literally didn't care. And
so you're like really in, and it's not, but I can imagine because I know a few other travelers, right? They travel less. You're like the traveler on this podcast, you know. So that's why this is extra interesting. I think not only for myself but for everyone listening. You know, it's a different mindset. It's a fearlessness, and it's also I think there's something about the way you live or the way you look at life that is, I'm here now. This is fucking beautiful, and I got nothing to complain about, right?
I mean,
but to do that there's a Zen-like quality to that. That's like being in the now, but not in the cheesy way, but actually like, okay, it's not going to be always exactly what I hoped. Sometimes there's jail time. Sometimes there's this. Sometimes I'm like, you know, there's monkeys stealing my fucking whatever the fuck I got on me.
Yeah, that
right?
almost happened.
It's going to be difficult. I'm on a date, you know, all kinds of weird things happening. But still, the adventure of it, the non-usualness of it, if that's even a word in English, is the reward in a way. You're writing something as you're living it, in a way.
Hanoi gets boring. It's a traditional society to a certain extent, and you know, I'm boring for starters anyway because I'm a workaholic, and when I'm not working, I'm drinking. So I'm boring. But even by that rationale, Hanoi is not renowned for its nightlife. It has it. It's there.
That's not necessarily boring, by the way.
What do you mean?
When you're working, you're drinking. You're full of stories.
Well, exactly. But still, like the point is like Bangkok's not boring.
Right.
Kuala Lumpur is not boring.
Yeah.
Hanoi can get a little boring. Like it's very traditional, relatively speaking. And sometimes I go, man, I'm bored here. But you know what? Then I walk to the convenience store.
And it's a feast.
It just the retarded shit I see, you know, like that. And that's why I love travel, because if I walk to the convenience store here, like I just walked to the convenience store here today and I was bored out of my fucking mind.
It's probably the same experience.
If I do it there, I end up with 3 pictures that could probably go in a fucking photo book, and I have a very weird interaction with someone. I mean, I speak Vietnamese now, so that's throwing everyone for a loop. Like I'm walking around talking their language. Like,
what's it sound like?
What do you mean? What does it sound like?
It's like, hey, how you doing? No, I like.
Oh, okay. How you doing is.
It's like, hey, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Well, yeah. How you doing is em quay home.
Yeah.
You know, if you're younger, then it's em quay home. If you're older, then it's anh quay home. Like their language
It's
is
like in French. There's like respect levels.
There is no you or me. It's
Right.
only, are you older? Are you younger? Are you male? Are you female?
Right.
This kind of
Tu, vous.
Yeah,
Right. Exactly.
Well, they were a French colony.
There we go.
And here,
Wow.
let's take it even deeper, because, okay, everyone knows that they're a French colony, and, you know, that obviously has a lot of influence on the language. But I was just in Portugal, and what I noticed on when I was looking at the Portuguese language was that they have letters with the arrow on top. They have letters with the little squiggle.
Yeah.
And guess who else has that? France doesn't have it.
Curaçao.
Vietnam has it.
Okay.
And the reason when I
No,
Googled-
the French language has one word, garçon, that has a little squiggle under the C.
right, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
There are a few
Right.
squiggles, but
Yeah.
but in Vietnamese the squiggle is not underneath. Like Portuguese script
Yeah.
has all the same squiggles.
I see.
And the reason is that, see, they cobbled together the Vietnamese language maybe 100 or 200 years ago, and it was priests that did it, missionary priests. You know, white guys are like, okay, fuck, let's take some Chinese, let's take some of the local dialect,
Right.
let's take some of our shit,
Yeah.
sing, bang, boom.
Yeah.
But they were actually Portuguese, and that's
Right.
why.
There we
That's
go.
why.
Yeah.
The Portuguese are heavy out there. Like,
Yeah.
I just went to Macau
Yeah.
in China. You know,
Yeah.
Macau is
Yeah,
Chinese
yeah.
territory, and it's heavy Portuguese influence.
Yeah.
Malaysia, in Malacca has a heavy Portuguese influence. Like, I was very happy I went to Portugal, because I don't know how many people go to Lisboa. You know, I don't know how
I
that.
painted there.
Oh yeah, what did you think?
I loved it personally.
It's so diverse.
I fell in love with it. It was a very strange part of my life, but I ended up there for a couple of weeks, and I loved it, man. Like, to me, Portugal, Lisboa, in particular, there's something there where you kind of get everything. Everything is
it's the most diverse city I've seen in Europe.
right, because
Like,
it's on that edge, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know, when you imagine like the original travelers, you know, people, you know, landing on Europe probably came. That was one of the ports.
I mean, it's a strategic
Porto,
point.
yeah, exactly.
Strategic point. And now you have Brazilians, you have Angolans,
Right.
You have Mozambicans,
Right.
You have Cape Verdeans,
North
and
Africans,
they're all
right.
just rolling through. You know,
Yeah.
like in much of the world, Lisboa is like London. You know, it's
Right.
it's a focal point.
Yeah.
It's a cultural center. And,
But it's still small towny when you need it to be. Right. That's what I noticed.
And
yeah.
the food is amazing,
Yeah.
and it's not that expensive relative to the rest
That's
of
what.
Europe.
That's very.
And from
True,
there,
right.
here's a little travel hack. Look, if you want to have a Europe vacation and an Africa vacation, because in my experience, you know, people always ask me for vacation tips. They all say, you know, we want to hit 2 or 3 cities in Europe, and then you know, other people will say we want to hit 2 or 3 cities in Asia. And maybe it's just because I'm a little bit jaded, but most of those countries are not that different. I don't know if it warrants you going to a different country every 2 or 3 days and packing and
Right,
unpacking,
yeah,
getting
yeah.
a new hotel,
That could
and
be
you know,
fun,
exchanging
you know,
money and
yeah.
all this bull crap, you know? So I tell, like, what we just did was we went to Lisboa, and then we took a $150 90-minute flight to Marrakesh.
To Marrakesh, Morocco.
So you just so now you're getting
Yeah.
two very different experiences.
And it's right over the water there.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yep, I
It's a
just
good one.
came back.
That's nice, man.
Yeah. Well, you ever been?
Yeah.
Oh.
I went Agadir. I went a couple other places. Tunis also was interesting. But yeah, what I did, because I was in Lisbon, and I didn't know anyone there. I don't even know why I went there.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know. So.
But I'm like, okay, I went to the Montana spray paint shop. Said, what's up? Hey, what's up, everybody? Give me a bunch of cans. And I'm like, it felt like innocent enough to where I'm just going to like paint in the daytime in the street. And so I did.
And
so I did like
nobody
3
said nothing?
pieces there. And some of those pieces are still up to this day.
Wow.
But you know, there's a bridge downtown. And it's like Bar Row. You take the long steps down. There's like a little
Yeah.
Right?
Barrio Alto.
Barrio Alto. I have 2 pieces right there.
Yeah.
And so there's old people watching me. I'm letting them know that I'm doing something nice. It's no worry, no policia. You know, I can be really friendly when I want to be. And it was just like, for me, it was like a seamless, beautiful experience. Everyone's so open.
I still go to Athens a lot because I did end up hiring a couple people who work for me remotely, and Athens is graffiti central.
Yeah.
Athens is nuts.
Yeah.
And on a side note, Greece will teach you what food is, you know?
Yeah.
Like I told you about Vietnam and the relatively bad quality of the ingredients. See, it's a shame. Like I always say that America normally does, with a few exceptions, Thailand is an exception, but America normally does your country's food better than you do it. And only because we have better ingredients.
Right.
You know? But then I went to Greece.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. American food is garbage too. Like you can taste the Monsanto.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
off about it.
Yeah.
And you don't even notice it till you go to the Mediterranean and you fucking just sit there with a tomato.
Oh, yeah.
And just eat
Yeah.
a tomato.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that. Shouts to Tristano Bergamini. Right outside of Milano is a little small village called Brescia.
Heard of it.
Yeah, he's in they're in the nylon business over there. That's like the capital of nylons. And so his family had like a nylon thing. And so we did lunch, and he plucked the tomatoes from the vine in his backyard, and then lunch was being prepped. But everything was just off the land. We saw it alive a minute ago, and now like we're eating it.
And that's the thing about my life. You know, like, okay, I did America. I know America.
Yeah.
I did Africa. I loved Africa. I got kicked out of Africa. Now I'm doing Asia. Asia is like to finish up the point that I was making.
Yeah,
is that
so
Asia and Africa are polar opposites because Africa you can have a great time, make a ton of friends, party your ass off.
Right.
But business is difficult, and Asia is the polar opposite.
Right.
You won't. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but I don't have any Vietnamese friends except my staff. I love them to death. But they have a completely different lifestyle from me. They're all 25, married with a kid or two.
Right,
you know?
exactly. Yeah.
But business is easy.
Yeah.
But then you go to Europe and you're like, especially for a guy like me that has a lot of Mediterranean blood, I'm just like, yo, like, I'm Iranian at heart. Going to Iran is always going to be a problem for me. It's always going to be difficult. You know, odds are in my lifetime that's never going to be a real viable option. So the closest I can get is like places like Mediterranean, Greece. And when I go, I feel it, man. I love women. I love all women.
Yeah.
But when I go there and I see
There's a magnetism.
something comes.
There's like
comes out.
The positive and the negative are like attracted. Yeah.
That's my people.
Yeah.
And I always leave on the plane. I'm like, yo, I'm making a mistake.
Yeah.
But
I'm leaving a wife behind, but I haven't even met her yet.
I'm making a mistake. But the only thing I know right now, and the only thing I need to know right now, is that Vietnam has given me a visa and a business, and I'm making money, and
That's
I got
good,
a studio, and I got a home, and everything's going up.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
for now, the traveling is on a pause. Like
no, I mean I've traveled more this year than anywhere else.
Yeah.
I just went ahead and got an apartment, which by the way is $480 for a beautiful brand new studio.
In where? In
Hanoi.
In Hanoi.
Yeah. $480, brand new studio. Housekeeper comes 3 days a week. That's part of the rent.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi included. Like
that's
peanuts.
peanuts.
I can't say it enough. Like if you're struggling out here,
Yeah.
fucking leave.
Yeah. It's funny because like I'm obviously an immigrant, I came here a long time ago, but when I go back home, I see homies complaining, sipping at the same bar stool with the same beer, talking about, whoa, it's not working out. And I'm like, look, man, not only are you part of the European community, go complain in Spain. Go to Portugal. Go to Greece.
Complain in Spain. I like it.
You know what I'm saying? But just make a move, But I found that, and you kind of did it at a later age. You were how old? 32?
When I left, yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel like the older people get, the more like sort of like cemented they are in their little group of friends, family, little job, whatever it is, things not working out or things that do work out, and then married to that. But like you said, it's not an impossibility.
Not at all.
Not at all, actually. It's actually a very possibility.
But I will say this, and I say this because I have a lot of black friends out here, and I will add a caveat to what I'm saying. It's not easy to do it if you're black. I'm basically a white guy.
Yeah.
I can go to Asia. It's all good. Ha, ha, ha.
Right.
Unless
you go to Tokyo.
But if my
I know
black
some black
friends,
folks that thrived in Japan though.
Right, but that's Japan.
Yeah.
Japan is different.
It's different, man.
I'm talking about Southeast
China
Asia.
also, I saw a lot of black folk thrive.
I'm talking about Southeast Asia.
Right. Okay, I see.
Yeah, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
Like Malaysia in particular, Vietnam, like they don't have a problem with you. They really don't. Like they're not. Most people are not racist like in a negative way.
Right.
They're just like they just will stare at you because they've never seen anything like you.
Yeah.
And you may get uncomfortable.
Right.
And then the occasional government official might get a little funky.
Yeah,
with
you will
know
have
what I mean?
you won't have the benefit of their good graces.
The first issue in every country
Right.
is the immigration department.
Right.
And I have a deep abiding hatred of all of them. Like they're always the dumbest people in the country. Like think about anyone, think about US postal workers, and you'll be halfway to how dumb these people are.
Yeah.
They only have one thing going for them. God bless them, these poor bastards. They only have one thing going for them. And this goes for every single country in the world. Immigration officer only has one thing going for them, and it's that they were born here.
Yeah.
And they're going to nail you for it any fucking chance they get.
Yeah,
and if you're black and you show up in Cambodia or Vietnam, I mean, actually, you know what? Cambodia exists and thrives because it's pretty laissez-faire,
Yeah.
Cambodia, Vietnam has a lot of weird, unsavory characters running around. And it ain't just black, believe me. A lot of white people go there, and you can see them.
Yeah.
They are drunk, tattooed up,
Yeah.
won't tell you their fucking names, Like, every country has its own kind of expat. Saudi Arabian expats, for example, are always rich. They're always in their 40s, very buckled up, plaid shirt types, getting the money. But Vietnam, since the visas are so lax, anyone can come. And we hear about child molesters. We hear about all kinds of nasty people coming through Vietnam.
That's a whole other thing right there.
I mean, look, until my dad lives in Malaysia. The reason he lives in Malaysia and not Thailand, which is where most of these guys end up, is because he didn't want prostitutes chasing him every day in and day out, saying you want something. He's a very tall white man and he's older, and that's it. They assume you're there for one reason. So he's like, I'm going to move to Malaysia where it's not even like that. No one gives a shit, But when I first told him I was in Cambodia and he came to visit me, the last time he had been in Cambodia was in the 90s.
No.
And he was like, why do you want to go there? And I was like, I got a friend there. He's like, it's full of child rapists. Like Cambodia was a hot spot for child rape. Even to this day, if you land at Phnom Penh Airport, you're going to see a gigantic billboard of this little kid, looking scared, and then like a white man.
That's some creepy
then
shit.
Then a white man behind bars, like
wow.
And I have seen, not uncommonly, a 70-year-old white man walking down the street hand in hand with probably a 15-year-old girl or boy.
Ooh.
And you know what?
Not
you can't say shit about it.
Yeah. I heard the same thing. Thailand is even worse. Right? I was on a trans-Atlantic flight, to put it in those old school terms.
Yeah.
With a woman who was Thai. Actually, no, she was French, but then she became naturalized Thai, and she broke it down to me. And she said, "Well, if you're, if your offspring is female, right, or that's a great thing. But if your offspring is male, there's heavy feminization of the male offspring because it's for some reason makes more money, man. And I'm like, wait,
that's why Thailand.
Are you meaning like
boy because
like systemically? And she's like, beyond systemically. It's like it's an accepted fact there that most likely, and most people's means are very,
they're broke.
They're fucking super broke.
Thailand is the sex capital of the world.
Yeah.
And if you're a boy and you're poor, then it's not. It's definitely not unheard of that you will end up being a ladyboy, and you may not even want to be.
Yeah.
You just how it happens.
Horror stuff.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
how it happens.
So that's a grim little corridor. But
but see, now Cambodia is the new Wild West,
right?
Because Thailand, like any country, is after long enough of all this foreign activity,
right?
Their wages starting to rise a little bit,
right.
They're just they're not going for what they used to go for. They're not taking the scraps like
right.
that. So now Cambodia is the new Wild West, and
right.
Remember, Cambodia is getting over a genocide,
right?
There was the Pol Pot genocide.
Exactly. Yeah.
And in that kind of timeline, I mean, it ended in the 70s. In that kind of timeline, we're still not even halfway through this thing. Like, when you go around Cambodia, it's the sweetest people and it's the most unique culture. They have they have Hindu temples out there that are covered in vines. That they don't have that in most other parts of Southeast Asia. Like Cambodia has a heavy Indian influence. Like it's a weird, unique place, but the people are like very happy and carefree in that way that people are when there's some shit that they don't want to fucking deal with.
Yeah. Is that extra carefulness?
They are, and who wouldn't be?
Yeah,
I mean, I went to the killing fields. I went there.
Wow.
I mean,
the killing fields.
Yeah.
What a film.
The killing fields are where Pol Pot was executing babies. Slamming. They used to grab a baby by the ankle and bang it on a tree till it died because they didn't want to waste bullets.
Yeah.
And if you go there now, you will see bones coming out of the ground and pieces of cloth. And these are children, grandchildren of those people. And they're living there in this country, and they're just starting to put the pieces together again. But they're not even trying.
They're still on survival mechanism.
Cambodia has no chance. Yeah. Southeast Asia is the Caribbean of China.
Right.
It is the holiday area, And now that China is really flexing its muscles, China has bought up Cambodia almost completely. Like the town that I go to in Cambodia is called Kampot. It's in the south. And it's well known that China loves port cities because they want to control the waterways.
Right.
So they took over Sihanoukville, which was the bigger port city, and it was like a place where a lot of white backpackers went and got drunk and had a good old time, but they literally razed the whole place to the ground. All those sexy dive bars and all that. They completely obliterated a town, and they rebuilt casinos and banquet halls and all the things that Chinese people love. And I'm not mad at that. Like, maybe Southeast Asia doesn't need a bunch of white people running around barfing all over everything anymore. Maybe that era is over. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it is what's happening.
Yeah.
Kampot is next. Like, every time I go to Kampot, I'm like, this is the end of an era. Like, it's a beautiful place, and it ain't going to be here next year, maybe 2 or 3 years. And that's been like a theme of my life. I lived in Tripoli for 2 or 3 years. And I remember it was all Roman ruins and then brand new buildings.
What era? What was it?
87 to 89.
Yeah.
I lived in Tripoli, and it was lots of Roman ruins next to lots of brand new buildings because of the oil money.
Right, exactly.
Very new oil shit.
Yeah.
Now I look back, it's all ruins.
Yeah.
Libya is fucking ruined. My sister was born there.
Yeah.
And she'll never go back,
Yeah.
And then Iran, that door closed. For a while, Namibia closed. I hired a lawyer to try to figure out my status there. And now, after 4 years, they tell me I can go back.
Yeah.
But that's my life. Places that I know, they're either obliterated or they become unavailable to me.
Unbelievable.
And that's always been my life.
Yeah.
So now that I'm in Vietnam, I go, I got to fucking soak this up. And that's part of the reason why I guess I'm like that. You're asking me why I'm so focused on where I'm at. Because because that's
Because you gotta be.
I gotta be, man.
Because if you don't, maybe it's
And now I finally got what I was searching for 7 years for.
Yeah.
Remember, I went to 3 countries, couldn't get this shit off the ground. Now I got it. Now I have 2 floors, 20 employees.
Yeah.
I have YouTube marketers on a level that you've never seen. See, Vietnam is a country of 90 million people. Most of them are young. The only bigger country in Southeast Asia is Indonesia, and they're Muslims, so they're not really hip to all the social media shit like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Vietnam, they know more about YouTube than YouTube does.
Yeah.
So
And so in what capacity can because when you say I have 20 employees, I have 2 floors, like what's going on there? You know what I'm saying?
what's going on there is
Just to give myself and our listeners like a taste of like what's your day to day? How do you manage that? What's the objective of the business?
well, the objective is they run tens of thousands of channels, and
Okay.
they know how to drive traffic.
YouTube channels.
Yes, and they know how to drive traffic to and
So
from
managing meaning they produce content, upload, and then like promote,
Yes.
or on other channels' behalves they promote, or all of it.
all of it,
No shit.
all of it,
Yeah.
all of it.
And is it Western content? Is it Southeast Asian content or worldwide?
All of it.
Because YouTube land.
All of it.
It's all of it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and they
So you-
there are Facebook groups there are Facebook groups that are only for YouTube marketers, and there's like 10 of them, and each of them have like 80,000 members. Like they're like gangs out there.
Yeah.
YouTube gangs, like informal crews of homies that work together to generate traffic. And
So not to give the secret sauce away, but how do you just again out of curiosity, how do you drive traffic? Obviously that's
giving the secret sauce away.
No, but without like smearing it on my burger, give me a little taste here. What is it?
Let's see, how can I put it in a way that won't come back to fuck me?
Well, it's not gonna fuck you.
I was saying that already. Like,
You might,
Basically,
to give like a feeling of like, and you can use all the key words and everything, but everyone knows what that is. But just a little bit like closer to like,
here's the difference. They go from mass.
right.
In America, we build one channel and we focus on it completely.
Right.
They build a shit ton of channels. And see, Vietnam is a communist country. And I appreciate them for that. Because as this guy knows, and you probably overheard, I hate all my fucking friends because they can never work together.
Yeah.
If we had ever been able to work together, we would be where we want to be right now.
See-
But these guys,
So you're talking about hive mind.
yo,
Yeah.
that's communism.
Yeah.
These guys are bloop, like they wake up together, they go
Yeah,
to sleep
yeah,
together,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they work as a fucking seamless unit.
Yeah.
It's really as simple as that.
Yeah.
Everyone in America is like secretly scheming on when they're gonna break out alone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
No one does that out there.
Right.
We are together.
Right. And so, as the captain of the ship, it allows you to keep traveling, and whatever you check in via.
I do the video conference every year.
Right. Exactly. And you give incentives, directions, but for the most part, you've concocted a way to beat, in a way, the American system. For whatever it was delivering for you. Roundabout choosing, set of circumstances, you end up in Hanoi, living the life, which is sort of like American dream style, right?
A little bit.
But it's like the American dream with a visa,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, this is my...
It's still the American dream because
This
the
is
way
my
you're
s-
thinking, hiring 20 people, 2 floors,
Well-
working at this, that's still sort of the American can-do mentality, but in a country that maybe wasn't necessarily used to that sort of initiative, right?
Well, yeah, I mean...
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and it's funny because, there's 2 things that I think about. First thing I think about is that, if Vietnam hadn't gone through the war, would they be the fastest growing economy right now? And they
Oh, no.
probably wouldn't.
Never mind. 1 hour.
If Vietnam hadn't gone through the war with us, they probably wouldn't be the fastest growing economy in the world because wars create baby booms and wars
Right.
create problems that the populace needs to solve, and war creates resolve. Like, these are tough people. They're very sweet, but they're very fucking tough.
Yeah.
And they had a huge baby boom.
Right.
and they're right next to China. So, you know, they know all about competition. By the way, they hate the Chinese way more than us. The Chinese only colonized them for 1,000 years. You know what I mean?
So
they showed up. They showed up in Vietnam or when Jesus was alive, and they left 1,000 years later. So we're just small fry to them. But now I have 2 green cards. Well, you know, I had an American green card, then I got the passport. Now I have a Vietnamese green card.
Big up for that. Big up. That's how weird the world gets, huh? That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I landed there early January. It was, again, an internet thing.
Yeah.
I just landed there. These 3 guys are there, fucking beautiful guys, 25 years old. We spent a week just comparing notes and talking about how we're going to do this. And then I went and got an accountant and a lawyer, and I found office space, and I rented office space, and we drafted the documents, and we made the business legal, and I found an apartment, and I found a gym, and I started learning Vietnamese, and it's all happened in the last year and a half.
All that's missing now is a little wifey.
Hey.
But maybe the wifey life. Maybe now, since you got like a strong anchor.
Yeah, maybe,
right?
Man. But you know, remember that I'm finally at the moment of truth where everything is supposed to line up.
Right.
One bag, a real show. All these albums dropping.
Right.
The company doing its work and creating this global underground.
So what's to stop you? Like, because right now, when you talk to me, you know, and we're properly caught up, you know, for a great deal. I'm like, this is a show. One bag is a show, you know, and you can like retrace your steps or go to any country and be like, you know, when you lead with enthusiasm and art, which in your case was always hip hop, right? Lyricism and all that stuff. Like doors will open. And yeah, most of you motherfuckers stay at home, but I went and so there's a way to go and there's hacks along the way. Sometimes you sleep on the floor, sometimes you do not, right? But again, it's sort of like a test to like your art, right? If your art needs to thrive and it's got to come out. Plus, I'm a sponge as an artist. I got to absorb to then ring out on the album, right? So I think that's the show.
Yeah, and
from
also, you know, One Bag exists for a lot of reasons, but one great benefit is that it gave my music a new lease on life. I mean, you know, as an artist, and especially as an underground rapper where things are very literal and there's a lot of ribbity rapping going on, and that's just not particularly in style right now. You know, it gets old. But I found a way to make it unique. Yeah. And infuse it with a crazy life, you know? Like the stuff that you'll hear from me when this starts dropping, you know, you may not like it, but there's nothing like it.
Right. And it's not like I moved from whatever, Alabama to Houston.
Yeah.
This is something else.
Unique shit.
You know? And so I remember one thing, your first album, which had the privilege of designing the package for,
Cheers,
had a line that, man, I think about it, I think, once every couple of weeks.
I know which line you're talking about.
I know it because I told
you were going to bring it up.
I have to bring it up because now I see the full circle. At the time, you were still living in LA. You were in the relationship that was about to end, I think.
Yeah.
Right? So we're now talking, what, 10 years ago?
More.
More. That's 95, 96.
No. James' Skeletons.
Skeletons was like 2005.
2005. See how that sticks?
Is that the one, or?
No, Skeletons with the X-Ray album. So that the line is, and why, for me, you know, you had foresight when you said that. Because I've been thinking all along, like, I got to ask, what sort of, what's the way of being as a traveler, right? But I think you called it with this line. And the line is, carry yourself correct, always show respect, don't neglect the ones you love, and live life with no regrets.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know why that caught me so heavy. I get goosebumps thinking about it. Look, real quick. It's true. And so the only way to show up somewhere where you're not from is that's the rule book right there. Yeah. And of course, there could be branches off of each and one of those. But I think it's beautiful to see that you called it back in 2005, and now you've made all these moves, had all these experiences, and you're living the thing that you, on some level, knew you just could.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
you just gotta, some people meditate, some people do all kinds of things to try to examine themselves. But me, I just write a hell of a lot about what's going on. And I think that through that process, I mean, my journal, I'm sure a lot of it will go in a book one day. I'm sure a lot of it will go nowhere, but it allows you to read your life and look back at it. And it allows me to understand who I am. If you understand who you are, then you understand your special strength. I didn't think that when I was a kid, I didn't think that the ability, I thought everyone could do this. I thought that everyone could just go somewhere and be friendly and like it would all work out.
They can't.
They can't.
They cannot.
I've set up shop in so many places in my life.
Like, I'm good at that, and I hear the places you went to, and to me, it's like, I don't even want to go there. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want to go there because it's like, it will require so much energy for me to, like, connect or to, like, like, I do it, but, like, half the time I don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying?
You know why? And I always knew this about you, Chase. You're not an insecure dude. You have always been very secure of yourself. You've always been a very solid dude. You know what I mean? And I've always been an insecure guy, and I know that about myself. But that's what keeps me going. I'm always picking. It's always the next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. You know, when you have something in you that you're trying to fill, then you're gonna run for as long as it takes to try to fill it. Even if it can't be filled, you might spend a long time trying to fill it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know guys who, they think their shit don't stink. I mean, they're just chilling. They're just, I'm me, fuck you. And that's it. I don't want to go to Cambodia.
But just,
what the fuck do I want to go to Cambodia for?
But
you know what I mean? But me, I'm like, I got to go. I got to see.
Yeah, because you put yourself, it's like in a fighting situation, right? When you're training boxing, jiu-jitsu, whatever. You want to spar with a guy that's better than you because you can learn from that.
Yeah.
And sometimes moments or situations can have the better of you, or can they? And maybe it's not about winning over that. Maybe it's about experiencing and going through those experiences. And P.S., to be really honest, I'm not like super self-secure, but I know how to project that so you believe that, right?
Yeah, you are very good at it.
I'm good at that.
Yeah.
And that's like a little bit, the secret to whatever success that I've had. It's just I know what you can, not you particularly, but the world at large, what they need to see for them to believe in me. I know that very well. But behind the scenes, trust me, I got a lot of insecurities
I know.
And
I've always been extremely proud of you as one of us that fucking broke out. Always.
Thank you, man.
But I also know that you're not American, but like me, you learned that you have to become American to a certain extent in order to be successful in America and just in the American century, in this modern world. You know what I mean?
Right.
You learn how to walk tall and kind of pound your chest a little bit, where maybe in Europe, that's not really common. You know what I mean? People don't do that. They're just, I'm just a guy, I'm just here, what the fuck, But like we came here and, with varying degrees of success, we learned how to kind of stick our chest out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is a bit of an act. Like,
of course,
because people say that, oh, James, you're so, you're so loud and confident. But like, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I'm overcompensating.
It's compensation.
I'm overcompensating.
Yeah, and but it's also by doing that, varying on the degree of it, you also inspire confidence in what you're. Because sometimes being loud is being passionate, and sometimes being passionate, even when people are not asking what's your passion, what are you about, is sort of like it's like promoting the idea in their mind that, hey, well, if I ever need someone for this thing or that thing, we can call on Malkovich or Chase.
Yeah.
Right. And that's immigrant mentality here.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? Like, be in the corner? I didn't move to this country to fucking be in the corner.
Well, and now you remind me of something that I wanted to mention, but I forgot, and that is that, you're saying that you're living the American dream somewhat in Vietnam.
With a visa.
But
that's a good line, actually.
But you know what?
Or are you?
No, I have visa.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
But you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when I first moved to America.
Right.
When I first moved to America, my whole Iranian side of my family had moved here too a couple years ago, and they were happy. It was the gold rush. It was the years.
Bet.
You know what I mean? They were making money.
Yeah.
But now that dream is in Asia.
Yeah.
So I am actually doing exactly what they did.
Yeah.
I'm moving to the new frontier.
And not only that, but I think, as I know you for now, more than 20 years,
Gotta be.
there's something to be said for doing it on your own. Because when you come with a family, which you had the benefit of doing, right? It's a different thing than when you carve, it's first path to the jungle, right? And so there's a different sort of like self-respect you can develop over that. Not that it's all about that, but this
part of it.
The chin goes up an extra inch. You know what I mean? It's like, well,
Yeah.
you can't tell me nothing actually.
Yeah.
But you can tell me everything also. But you're not going to sell me that old bullshit that I would have fell for like 15 years ago. You know?
Yeah, and here's how...
And there's something beautiful in that.
And here's how I think we can best wrap this up.
Yeah.
Is I am an insecure dude, but I'm less insecure now.
Right.
Like, I know after African prison and 7 years of traveling and being broke and making the money and doing all this, like, I know I'm going to be all right.
Yeah. And by the way, I know you will be too.
Ah!
And that's that, my man.
Cheers.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
So wait, before you go, by the way, thanks for like making the time. I know you're only in LA for that long.
No doubt.
Very great to catch up with you. Where can people find you online?
MalkovichMusic.com. All the platforms, Malkovich Music. You're gonna see stuff from a few years ago. I've been quiet, but that's all about to change. Everything that you just heard in the last 2.5 hours is going to be coming your way in audio-visual form, thanks to a crew of psycho YouTube marketers nestled away in the jungles of Vietnam. So we'll be delivering shit to you very shortly.
Dope. Instagram handle?
Malkovich Music, just like John Malkovich. Malkovich Music.
And Twitter?
Same
shit. You heard it here first, folks. That's it for this week. Boykasha.
Whoop, there it was. That was Malky doing the do as he does best. Hope you dug that. And as always, we're always on Instagram at Happy No Fear. I'm, of course, at The Art of Chase. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.